One of the things Israel is trying to crack down on is people who live in the West Bank and claim they're East Jerusalemites. And because if you're an East Jerusalemite, that means you have access to Israel's great healthcare, you have access to Social Security. And so they don't want people who don't live technically in Jerusalem getting those services. However, many East Jerusalemites moved to the West Bank, to villages that are just outside the borders, about 20 years ago, because it's very difficult to get housing in East Jerusalem. There's not a lot of housing construction. And so they moved to some place that was very close by. The municipal borders weren't drawn yet. They had no idea that suddenly 10 years later, 20 years later, the Interior Ministry would decide to embark on a campaign of revoking residency status. It wasn't happening when they started to move out there. But it is true that many people in East Jerusalem have houses in the West Bank and live in those houses most of the time. But nevertheless, they were born in Jerusalem.
So how will the court ruling change things?
What is so unprecedented about this court ruling is the judges instructed the Interior Ministry to understand that East Jerusalemites have special affinity to the city. That is, unlike an athlete who comes from the U.S. to play on an Israeli basketball team, he doesn't have special affinity to Israel. His family doesn't live here. 3 generations, 4 generations, family don't live here. They don't have special affinity. Basically, the law that applies to East Jerusalemites who didn't become a part of the State of Israel until 1967 was drawn up in 1952. It had nothing to do with them, and it was applied to them retroactively. And though there is an idea that at one point Israel offered East Jerusalemite citizenship, some kind of grand offer, they can get citizenship. They have to go through a long process. Times of Israel has itself done a special report and shown that it's almost impossible now to actually get citizenship. But the point is, there was never some grand offer. Israel retroactively applied a law written in 1952 to what is now effectively 37% of the city.
So is there a move, now that the court has ruled, are Israeli legislators, is the government thinking of coming up with some kind of legislation that will make it clear?
This just happened. So I would not be surprised to see a few more cases of Palestinians who had their residency status revoked try to challenge those in the courts. I mean, this will significantly reduce the amount of stress and pressure East Jerusalemites feel that if they leave the country for a long amount of time, for medical schooling or whatever it is, or they married someone from abroad, they are afraid they won't be able to come back to their homes and to their families. This will hopefully reduce that fear and hopefully fix what I think is a mistake in Israel's treatment or approach towards East Jerusalemites.